This is the I Heart My Life show. Welcome to the I Heart My Life show, Candace. I'm excited for this conversation. I know that there's so many things that you are gifted in and so many ways in which you serve the world. So I'm just thrilled to have the opportunity to bring all of those topics to our audience. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. And I've been diving a little bit deeper on you and what you're up to, and I just love all of it. So just an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So I always like to understand how people came to do the work that they do in the world. So can you take us back and tell us a little bit about your journey and some of the highlights, the lowlights that brought you to this point?
It's kind of fascinating because just recently I've been thinking about that more, and I had this craziest insight this morning to some of it, and I'll share as we go. But I was actually born in Zimbabwe, raised in South Africa. And at that time, segregation and apartheid was just part of our world. So we actually left Zimbabwe in 81 as refugees. My mom with two kids, single mom, starting our life again, getting just this opportunity at a new life. And even though we had this deep ingrained just life of segregation and born into hate, and my dad was in the Rhodesian War, so there was a lot of trauma around us and fight flight responses. My mom just always raised us to just have an open mind, open heart, and just no restriction on who we loved, who we showed up as in our world. And we were really exposed to holistic ways and therapies and alternative ways to heal. And at a very young age, I just got really curious about how the mind and body, how they were connected. And as a little girl, I used to always put my hands on people and help with headaches and things like that. So when 94, when apartheid ended, it just became really obvious how ingrained our upbringing can be. And even though the segregation and this way of life beforehand was all of a sudden opened up, we still have these restrictions and these ways of being from just how we were raised. So for me, it was this deep dive and just being fascinated how the body communicated through pain. And my journey as a healer started 23 years ago as a massage therapist, and really identifying my own limitations and, my own things that were showing up in my world and how I could change them through thought patterns and these different kinds of processes. So as a massage therapist, 23 years ago is when my journey started. And at that time, I arrived in New York from South Africa, and the World Trade Center happened, went down, and just all the trauma. So just being able to be of service and let go of any of my, troubles or fears at that time to be of service to somebody else. And then just getting fascinated how emotions and these traumas and these limitations showed up as a physical discomfort in the body. And it just led me on this journey and, healing my own wounds. And the more I healed, the more I was available to help others heal through their journey. And it's just been this amazing process. Obviously, deep, dark, awful parts of myself having to heal too, just being exposed to emotional, physical, sexual abuse along the way that, I just decided what part of me is actually creating this in my world and how can I change that? So my little girl never experienced these traumas and experiences in her life. So that was kind of the start to my journey along the way.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
so
cool.
much to go deeper with there. So I'd love to know a little bit about the types of modalities that have been most impactful for you. So you mentioned your own trauma, things you went through. Where did you start? Like it sounds like you had a natural tendency to put your hands on people. You were very naturally gifted, but what sort of healing did you start with?
There was a real awareness around about 20 years. I think when The Secret first came out, I think it was about 20 years ago. And again, like, wow, my external reality was coming from an internal way of being. And it just this awareness that I had copied behaviors of, I love my mom to death, but generational wounds that had created me to attract these abusive relationships in my life. Even though my boys unfortunately had seen some of this, I made it this deep dive deep. So my little girl never, ever had those experiences. So some of the most amazing modalities, breathwork, of course, is just really instant way to free ourselves. But going into the traumas and figuring out what is my belief And it never excuses abuse. I have to say that. But what part of me, what is the belief that's creating this frequency in my body that's making this external reality attracted to me for me to learn what that was? So, really dismantling my belief system around who I was as a human being and why did I need to show up in environments with such extreme abuse. I mean, my ex-husband brutally murdered a woman and I was a survivor of that kind of domestic violence. So unfortunately, that's just horrific, but I got to change those patterns. And the cellular alignment technique with tapping and breathing and the silver mine method, some of my most traumatic experiences happened 2 years ago. I'm like, okay, God, show me how to help myself quickly so I can be of service more to others. So, being able to tap into our mind at a level of the alpha state and be able to heal. We are born to be able to be the image of God, to heal ourselves, to help others heal. And those are some of the most amazing. But there's been so many along the way, along the journey. But, recently, those have been the most powerful. Getting to that cellular level. What are those fight flight responses in the body that are actually producing this result? Also preventing us from actually having the desires that we want when we can identify those, because those fight flight responses become allergies and addictions. We become addicted to the chemical response every time we have that negative experience. Once we identify it, neutralize it is pretty simple to do, and then align the body to the truth that we made perfect, whole, and complete, and what we deserve, we're no longer pushing away the thing that we actually want. So it just fascinates me. The body is amazing, and how we can transform it, all these tools. Every tool I practice is what's changed my own life 100-fold.
So amazing. Yeah, I'm thinking back to a client I had years ago. And a lot of times when I do work with my clients, my husband also comes in and he does additional sessions with them. And he's a certified high performance coach. And so with this client in particular, we were talking a lot about food and sleep. And, her energy level just wasn't where she wanted it to be. Her body didn't feel the way she wanted it to feel. And I remember her texting me and she said, "Oh my goodness, I've been eating so much healthier. I've been getting rest. And I can't believe that I never even thought that what I put into my body would affect how I was feeling energetically." And I was like, oh my goodness, like that's,
So, like, what?
yeah, I'm like, you never realized that? And I know we're talking about this on a much grander scale in this conversation, but it's just so fascinating to me how much we don't know about the power of the body and also the importance of like our belief system and how it affects the body, how it affects our reality, like literally how everything is interconnected. Yeah, I'm so interested to hear, like, when you talk about on a cellular level, can you kind of break that down for us? Like, it sounds like the first thing you did was identify what is the belief system, but like, what would be the step-by-step process if someone's aware that, hey, I've attracted a reality or I'm feeling a certain way that I don't want to feel, and how do I change it?
So we need others to help us see, right? Because we've created these illusions we live in. So to us, it's our life and our world. So it's the mirror, it's the glasses you're looking out in the world is the trap that you've created. So we don't always, I've made it my life mission to get there, but it's not like we can't do it on our own. But often we do need that support because we can't see it. For me, when I'm working with somebody, God's gifted me being able to see and heal. So going into these alpha states, we can, see where these fight flight responses are, what organ, there can be a particular organ, and through muscle testing, through, ways of identifying it for me as muscle testing, prayer, and seeing it visually. It can be an organ that's actually keeping you trapped, or it can be a distortion in your field. So, it's just exploring yourself. Your body's communicating through pain. And most people, there's that saying, no pain, no gain. It's the worst thing you could ever say. The body's actually communicating and has a language. So I think the easiest place to start, Louise L. Hay's book, Heal Your Life, is one of my favorite first time. Yeah, I love it. Just to go and listen, what is the body actually saying to me? What is this pain communicating to me? If you just start at that level, obviously, trying to simplify what I do because there's so many years of
Yeah.
it, I don't want to overwhelm, but I love that book. And that was my start, like really looking at What is the language the body's communicating? And it's not something to suppress. Whatever we suppress is going to express itself, and it's going to be discomfort, right? And looking at the beliefs, what am I saying right now? Our words are creating our reality. Like, what are we saying? What is the world saying back to us? It seems like I'm unlovable. It seems like, what is the seeming that is behind what's showing up? So to me, it's fascinating, it's playful, and it can get as deep as you want it to go. But I think that's always a good start, is listening to the body.
Yeah. And I think so many of us, we want to bypass that step because we just want to, take the painkiller, or we want to find another reason for outside of ourselves why something's happening. And it can be hard to, take that mirror up and admit that there's something going on within you that's causing that physical expression.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kept us safe, right? So we don't want to look at it. Some part of that discomfort has kept us safe because of a past pain. So by going to it, if we all of a sudden don't have that, then who are we? It takes a lot to start that self journey of reflection, and it does take courage and can be terrifying.
And for you, when you started looking at your beliefs that were kind of perpetuating this physical abuse and some of the trauma that you were experiencing, what was the belief that you uncovered?
I create with my clients, it's called an illusion board. And this is an old one, and I'll show you what it looks like. And this is how to like purge out the belief system, because again, we can't see the illusion, right? This is an old conversation. It is, I'm unlovable, I'm broken, I push people away that love me, strongholds. This was my energy field. I knew I wanted this, but my frequency was this. So once it's purged, you can now look at that lie that you've been living in and start to create something new from that space. But we have to purge it out first. Yeah, there's so many amazing tools, but we have to purge first. We have to see, and that's the uncomfortable part.
And for people who are listening to this, that illusion board, it said, I'm unlovable. I can't trust men. What else does it have on there?
I've never truly been loved by men. I'm broken and unwanted. Obviously, this was around relationship illusion for me, right? Because again, the abuse. My love is too much. I've got a big heart. I'm really loving, really. But if somebody can't receive that love, then, I'm unlovable. I am broken. I am unwanted. I don't think like that anymore. I know the truth. I'm stuck in my head. I push the men away that I do want. My past has a stronghold on me. These are really strong generational wounds. This isn't something I created myself. These came through generations, and it takes some effort to break those apart.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
Then you made the opposite. And do you call that your vision board, or what do you call that?
So it's a little different to a vision board, because to me, it's the new reality board. But, in between these two, I call them tentacles. And with the visuals I see, these are mindsets, these are generational wounds. And this is how it looks and feels when I'm working in someone's field. And they're pretty ugly.
So if you're listening to this, it's pictures of, I don't even know how to describe it, like
They're monsters,
monsters.
basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
And it says, it's a
this
fifth
is the codependency. This is how it felt in my body. And this is what I see in people. It merges into us and makes us believe that we need love outside of ourselves, that we need this validation outside of ourselves. And it feels like that, this endless need to be validated. But once these are out and you know who you are as a child of God, just perfect and beautiful and bright, then the declaration is, I'm a powerful, deserving, lovable goddess. And look at the difference in the colors. I mean, it's a whole different frequency.
Yeah.
So that's just one fun exercise.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. And when you say purge, like, is it enough to just get it out there and, like you said, create the visuals, or maybe somebody's writing it, or just even acknowledging that that's what the reality is right now?
I actually created something called the 30-day Dragonfly Effect Quest. And part of that, the dragonfly sees through illusions, brings the light, and plays in magic. But there's a breaking down. So there's plenty. There's letter writing. You can write, well, if you're breaking up, those conversations, what you're mad about, my part to play in it. what I love and appreciate about you, breaking those, cleansing those generational wounds and that, these kind of purging exercises. But not only do we need to purge our mind, food is important too, right? Like you talk about, there's frequency in food. So what foods are you choosing? Are you choosing these toxic foods because you're feeling toxic internally? So having those healthy, cleansing foods, so mind, body, and spirit have to be cleansed too. You want this clear, white canvas that you can now paint this new world that you want to create from. You can't create until you've had this purging part, right? You can't bring new furniture into a room where there's old furniture. Same as painting your reality that you want. If you have a canvas that's full of old, yucky paint, you're not going to have a beautiful expression in front of you. So there's so many little tools that you can use to purge it out, but it's a whole holistic approach. It's not just that one part. And then just one thing I thought this morning, I'm like, wow, how amazing. Like talking about these generational programming. My mom left, Zimbabwe in 81 with 2 children. I left South Africa almost the same age to come to America with 2 kids, $2,000 in 2 suitcases. And I'm like, literally, I got that this morning. Like, wow, look at that imprint in my DNA that actually expressed itself in the world. I mean, it's fascinating.
I hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Before we get back to the interview, I wanted to share a little something I think you'll find valuable. If you're looking for more clarity on what you want in life or feel like something is holding you back, I've created a free Dream Life Guide just for you. It's a step-by-step resource to help you get clear on your goals and break through any mindset blocks that might be in the way. You can grab it at iheartmylife.com/guide. And as a bonus, I've also included a private podcast feed to go along with the guide to give you even more value and support. So head over to iheartmylife.com/guide to download it for free. All right, now back to the conversation. You said you've done this work to help break some of that programming so your daughter doesn't need to have the same experiences and, go through what you went through.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, she'll never be exposed to what I was exposed to. Just energetically, I would never attract it, but she has no awareness. She'll never have that awareness. She'll never have that abuse. It's broken. I'm grateful for that for sure.
Mm. And can you talk a little bit about breath work and why that's so powerful? And if someone has never done breath work, what does that look like? How can they start?
So we're breathing all day long, right? But we're actually not taking those powerful, deep cleansing breaths. And what I love about breath work, we can have this emotional, physical, physiological, and spiritual transformation in just a very short space of time. So talking about that purging part, we want all these desires, we want all this love, we want all these things, but we don't have space. So the breath actually creates, I mean, I have a photograph somewhere of blood work taken underneath a microscope before and after breath work. And you can see they all kind of stuck together. And after the just 9 rounds of deep, powerful breaths through the nose, they separate. And so we're literally creating space inside the physical body. We are cleansing our cells of toxic chemicals, but we're also cleansing the mind. We're cleansing spiritually, we're becoming more connected. God breathed life into us through our nostrils. It is something that we cannot live without for 3 to 5 minutes. It's a very important function, but we don't use it properly. So it's easy to just go outside, all nose breathe. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that's the breath work I teach, but into the nose and into the chest, because a lot of the time, the anxiety and the fears and the things that happen in the physical body, when I see somebody with anxiety, it looks like metal element. So there's no space. It just squeezes. So by breathing, we are helping the tissue expand and detoxify the body. So it's just a powerful, easy, free medicine that we've been given, So nose breathing is important because you are going straight to the parasympathetic system of the body. So that's going to calm your nervous system really fast. Mouth breathing, there's so many different types and techniques, but simple 9 rounds, 9 breath method. And I'd be happy to do some with you now or send you some techniques to share, but yeah, just super awesome.
Amazing. So we'll do that at the end. So all of our club members, we're going to make a separate little segment. So that'll be perfect. Because I think for me, I've practiced breath work before. I've always been like more of a shallow breather, but it's not a practice that I've stuck to. So is there a daily practice that someone could do? Is it as easy as the 9 rounds, like you just said?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 9 breath method is literally that, right? Is taking a deep breath in, gentle exhale out the mouth, and there's a forward and back movement through the breath, but 9 deep, powerful breaths into the nose. On the ninth breath, we're going to hold it and swallow it down. Hold it for a period of time, and then a gentle exhale. If you start your morning with 3 rounds of that outside, and anytime during the day, if you're feeling overwhelmed and, imagining we are an energy tank, and when you wake up in the morning, you want to be overflowing. If we notice during the day we're running out of energy, or we're feeling overwhelmed, or we're feeling anxious, go and excuse yourself. Do 3 rounds of 9 breath. You're literally filling the tank back up before it gets empty. So it can be really simple. And then at the end of the day, clearing out the energy from the day, forgiving anybody that drove you nuts, and, just sending out love. Just that simple, easy 3 rounds, 3 times a day would be powerful.
Amazing. I love that. And I know a lot of people in our audience, we're all about creating a life that's better than your dreams. There's a lot of people who want to attract new things into their life. And you mentioned just like in a house that already has furniture, if there's not space for that, it's very hard. So, what about something like money? So, if somebody wants to create more wealth in their life, what is your methodology for that? Or what are some of the first steps that you take?
So, money is an interesting vibration, right? It is just a frequency like everything else. But we have this mindset that we can't survive without it. And these money wounds and these money conversations, it's the same as the relationship, like a relationship with our money, like really getting super clear. What are these generational conversations that have been passed down around money, and taking time to connect with money, being grateful to money. And also, again, it's this cleansing out the mind, body, and spirit. So we have space. Again, we want these beautiful, abundant supply of things, but there's literally no space in our mind, body, and spirit for us to attract it. So it's just like imagining money in front of you as if it is another person, and having a conversation with money. Like, hey, you've hurt me in the past. I don't trust you. Like, why should I trust you? You've never been there for me. And sit and let money communicate back with you. And oftentimes money is like, you've never actually wanted to receive me. You've shut me out. Like, playing, it's all, again, it's energy and creating that space for it. So it can be fun. Energy is fun.
Yeah. I always say that as well. I have a money mindset program, and I like to think about, if you're dating somebody or you're married, if you didn't pay attention to your spouse, that would not be a very healthy relationship. Or like you said, if you gave off the energy of not actually wanting to be around them, then that's going to be really repellent. So I think that's so
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
And what about good health? So say somebody wants to, get in shape, they want to lose weight, or there's something like you mentioned that they're experiencing like back pain or, just some sort of chronic health something. What are the first steps towards a healthier life in terms of body?
For me personally, because I'm so extremely sensitive to energy, it took me a long time to really, initially growing up, talking about like these bad habits and things to try and fit in or feel comfortable in my own skin, because, I didn't quite know how to use my gifts and tools. Energy, again, is frequency. And are we eating these live, vibrant, energy enhancing foods? Or are we eating these foods that are, you either eating to create life or you're eating to kill life? And our cells in our body need those vibrant, healthy foods. So fasting occasionally is important. Obviously, in the care of a doctor, we always know that we have to say that. Some people just don't have any clue around food, and there is, concerns. If your body is used to being toxic and you all of a sudden do a 7-day juice fast, you're going to feel terrible. So just starting off slow and really I like to introduce before taking away. So starting your morning with that lemon water and a healthy smoothie and your breath work and some prayer time. There's 6 fundamental practices that I share is prayer and gratitude, breath work, movement, nutrition, connection, and expression. All that's going to continuously clear out the tank and enhance your field. So definitely, again, cleansing out what foods are actually giving you. And like you said earlier on, to me, that's obvious. What you put in your mouth is going to make you feel a certain way. And if you feel bad, well, then we need to change what you're actually feeding your spirit and your body.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, this might sound like a simple question to you, but how would somebody know what frequency food has?
So what's really fun is I actually have, it's called a food healing oracle deck. And let's pull one for all of us right now. And this will tell us what frequency in food our audience, let's just say for interest sake, we're just going to ask, just in the highest and best of everybody watching right now, what is one food that we could consume today to start us on this journey of opening up energy and frequency? Limes for detoxification. I mean, you can't make this up.
Wow.
So, I mean, this deck is really fun.
I love how you just have that handy right there.
This is my workspace, so everything's available. I'm not going to read all of it, but there is some balancing to do in your life. Are you in a toxic situation that needs reviewing and change? Do you need to reevaluate what you put in your body, whether it's the wrong foods and you know it, or negative thoughts? Limes are announcing that you've neglected your sovereign temple long enough and it's time to squeeze a little bit more love into your existence. You cannot make this up. I mean, look how many cards there are here.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing. I know, buy some limes.
Exactly. So this is the frequency of lime is to help detoxify. It's really good for, helping when we're sick, to killing off bacteria, all foods have a frequency. Watermelon for release. So it communicates. It communicates through a vibration. So it's just, again, to me, all of it is just so fun. Listening to what is communicating through our food, through signs on the back of a car or an animal, everything is interconnected and communicating with us if we're awake. And the more clean we are, the more aware we become, the more we see the signs around us.
Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful point because I think we forget that, the food or whatever it is that we're putting in our body, what we're drinking, that is going to impact how clear we're seeing and not just visually, but like our intuition, what we're allowing to come in, what awareness we have, what inspiration we have. And we sometimes think like all I need to do is effort more, I need to do more, I need to work harder. But if you're blocked in those areas, that's not going to create the result that you want.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, right? And sometimes we are in such that masculine doing that when we start to do these detoxification processes, mind, body, and spirit, and we sit in that feminine, attracting male or female, doesn't matter what we are, things come to us easier. And it's not like we need to sit back and do nothing, but then we get that inspired intuition and insight to take the action that's actually going to move the needle. So I 100% agree with you with that.
So before we move on to the breathwork exercise, I have one final question for you that we ask all of our guests. What would you say is one way that we can create a life that's better than our dreams and far exceeds our wildest imagination?
I think a lot of what we already discussed, right? We have to get to that space of nothingness to really have this empty, open container and this empty canvas before we can even create that beautiful dream that we want, because it's too distorted to even step into it. So that is, for me, is the biggest thing is really, and it's a daily, it's not like it's going to happen once and then you're done. I think it's a lifelong journey, and it gets clearer and clearer and clearer as you go, and it gets more and more fine-tuned and more purposeful and more intentional the clearer you get. So it's just emptying out that space.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
CandaceTranter.com. If anyone is open to some deep dive, you can get on a discovery call with me. It's not a cookie cutter kind of process. Everybody is unique and what they're going through. So I create a 6-week initial process blueprints to get to where you want to go. And yeah, so easy CandaceTranter.com or Candace Tranter on Facebook. Any of those would be great.
Amazing. All right, so we're going to go into the breathwork session. So if anyone is interested, you can go to dreamlifeclub.com and that'll be within the membership. Thank you for listening to the I Heart My Life show. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with 3 friends or post about it on social media using the hashtag I Heart My Life show. And don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. It really does help us spread the movement far and wide. Remember, everything you desire is possible. Keep believing in your dreams and taking action.